Welcome to the Kovo Flow. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. English Podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Speak Your Mind. I'm your host, Anna, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. Whether you're listening while commuting, working out, or just relaxing at home, this is the perfect place to find inspiration, learn, and feel motivated about your English learning journey. Now, I know that many of you are working hard to learn English, but sometimes staying motivated can be tough. You might feel frustrated with your progress or overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. Well, today, we have something special for you. I am joined by a very special guest, someone who has an amazing story of learning English and how she has managed to keep the motivation alive. Let's give a warm welcome to Sarah, a passionate language learner, traveler, and English coach. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi Aina, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and share my journey.
Sarah, it's truly our pleasure. So, for those who are just tuning in, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey with learning and speaking English?
Of course. So, I grew up in a small town where English wasn't spoken much. I knew I needed to learn it because it opens up so many opportunities. I remember being so nervous to speak at first. I made mistakes, and that was frustrating. But I didn't let that stop me. I started by watching English movies, listening to music, and reading books. Eventually, I started speaking with people online and, little by little, my confidence grew. And now, here I am, helping others learn the language. It's been a long journey, but it's been so worth it.
That's incredible, Sarah. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of nervousness when speaking a new language. It's easy to let fear hold us back, right?
Definitely. And that's a huge challenge for many language learners. You know, we fear making mistakes, but that's actually one of the best ways to learn. Every mistake is an opportunity to improve.
I couldn't agree more. I think, for many people, it's the fear of judgment that keeps them from speaking. But I love what you said about making mistakes being part of the journey. So, Sarah, what would you say is the key to staying motivated during those tough times?
That's a great question. I think the key to staying motivated is to find a personal connection to the language. It could be a goal, like wanting to travel to an English-speaking country, or watching your favorite movies without subtitles, or maybe even connecting with new people from around the world. Once you find that why, it makes everything easier.
That makes so much sense. I think when learners focus on their end goal, the language learning journey feels more meaningful. Speaking of goals, Sarah, do you have any tips on how people can keep their motivation high on a daily basis?
Absolutely. One thing that really helped me was setting small, achievable goals. Instead of aiming to be fluent in a month, I'd say, today, I want to learn 5 new words, or I want to have a 10-minute conversation in English. These small wins help build confidence and keep you moving forward. Another tip is to track your progress. You don't have to do it formally. It can be as simple as keeping a journal or using an app to monitor how much time you spend practicing each day.
That's such great advice. I think breaking down the bigger picture into smaller chunks really makes things feel more manageable. And it's so easy to forget how much we've learned if we don't stop to look back and celebrate those little victories.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in thinking about how much we still need to learn. But looking back at where you started can really give you that confidence boost.
I love that. And, speaking of boosting confidence, what about for those who are still nervous to speak English, especially with others? Any tips on how to overcome that fear?
The fear of speaking is so common. One thing I always recommend is to find someone to practice with who is supportive and patient. It can be a friend, a tutor, or even someone you meet online who's also learning. The goal is to build a safe space where you're not afraid to make mistakes. It's also helpful to practice in low-pressure environments, maybe starting with speaking to yourself in front of the mirror or recording yourself. It's all about building that comfort level.
That's a fantastic tip. I think practicing in a safe, non-judgmental environment is key. And, Sarah, do you have any suggestions for people who might not have someone to practice with?
Definitely. If you don't have a conversation partner, there are tons of ways to practice. One thing I recommend is joining online language exchange platforms. There are apps and websites where you can connect with native English speakers who want to learn your language. You can help each other out, and it's a great way to practice speaking in real-life situations. Another method is to practice speaking in short bursts. You can try to describe your day or your surroundings out loud in English, even if you are alone, it helps.
That's so useful. And the idea of language exchange is so wonderful because it's a give and take experience. It feels like you're helping someone else while improving your own skills.
Exactly. And that exchange is rewarding for both sides. You can also watch English language TV shows or podcasts and then try to repeat what you hear. Mimicking the pronunciation and intonation will help you feel more natural when speaking.
I love that. It's all about consistent practice, right? Speaking of that, how do you stay consistent with your learning? Any strategies you use to make sure you keep at it every day?
Yes, consistency is key. One thing I've learned is that it's important to make English a part of your everyday life. I don't just study it for an hour and then forget about it. I try to surround myself with English in small ways, like listening to music, changing my phone settings to English, or reading articles and books in English. It keeps the language fresh in my mind and makes it less of a chore and more of a natural part of my day.
I love that idea of making English a part of your life in a fun and natural way. I think sometimes people get caught up in thinking learning has to be formal or rigid, but it's about making it enjoyable. And speaking of fun, do you have any tips on how to make learning English more enjoyable, especially for beginners?
Absolutely. One of the easiest ways to make learning enjoyable is by combining it with something you already love. For example, if you love cooking, you can watch cooking shows in English or follow English language recipes. If you are into sports, follow English-speaking teams and try to understand the commentary. The key is to connect learning with something that excites you, rather than forcing yourself to study a dry textbook.
That's a great tip. It's amazing how you can learn so much through things you already enjoy. And, Sarah, is there anything else you want to share with listeners who might be struggling to stay motivated?
Yes, I just want to say that learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't be too hard on yourself if you feel stuck or frustrated. Progress takes time, and every step forward counts. Celebrate your efforts, no matter how small they seem. And most importantly, enjoy the process. The more fun you have, the easier it will be to stay motivated.
Such inspiring words, Sarah. I think that's exactly what people need to hear today, that the journey is just as important as the destination, and every bit of progress is something to be proud of.
Absolutely, Aina. And remember, learning English opens so many doors, not just professionally, but personally too. You get to connect with people from all over the world and experience different cultures. That alone is enough to keep you motivated.
Well said, Sarah, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. I know our listeners are going to feel so much more motivated after hearing this.
Thank you for having me, Aina. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah, and to all of our listeners, remember that learning a language is a journey. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Until next time, take care and keep speaking your mind.